All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to a video about, well, potentially counterfeit cards. In this particular case, we're going to examine a Wheel of Fortune that looks like it's potentially a beta card, but the client is concerned that it may be a rebacked or fake. So we'll take a look today. So yeah, I'm going to read this letter from good old Edgar from Singapore. I think the guy might actually be Portuguese or Spanish because a lot of those people, there was a lot of influence around Singapore. But nevertheless, he wrote, "Good day, Daniel. Hi, it's Edgar from Facebook, the Counterfeit Detection Group." So he put a post about a beta Wheel of Fortune, this particular one. So you guys look at it real quick. He says, attaches the Wheel of Fortune that I won on eBay. So he got this on eBay. Don't remember what he paid. I think he paid like $400 or something. It wasn't like 1,000 or something, but it was still something. And he wanted me to take a look at it. So we're going to do that. Thanks again, Edgar, for giving me the opportunity to do a video and sharing with the public what's going on with this card. So here are 3 examples. This is a beta. This is a collector's edition. This is, actually, I'll do this like this. Okay, so right out of the gate, let's just get right into it. Right out of the gate, I think any of you guys would figure out pretty quickly that the card is extremely red. You guys see that? Let me actually pan in here. Let me give me a second. All right, so look carefully. The 2 cards here, let me brighten this. This one is the real one. This is the subject in question. Notice that this one is very, very, not as red as the real one. But that doesn't, I don't know, I've seen variations actually of the beta one. This example in particular was not necessarily the best example, but what's interesting about it is, here's what's interesting, is the text box. Look at the words. In the beta versions, from what I've seen over the years, I've noticed a lot of pretty much the same, like I brightened this so you can see like this gray stuff. It's like almost like a gray shadow line. You see it with the Daniel Jellin, the artist, a lot, but even with the text, it has that too. I don't know if you guys can see that. So that is something that I've noticed over the years with the Wheel of Fortune. It's almost like it was not contrasted and the ink was just, I don't know, it just was never straight on. Whereas the subject in matter is just literally, it's pure black. Black, black, black. 100%. Very interesting. Yeah, right? Very interesting. Okay, so next, here is the collector's edition version. Now, in the collector's, oh, this is international edition, I think. Let me just double check for accuracy. I looked at both, by the way. They're the same idea. Okay, so international, whatever, same thing. But notice carefully, the black ink is the same idea. It's pretty much the same. It's very weird. And the Daniel Jellin for this one is similar to more of the, it's almost exactly the same idea as the beta. Here's the beta next to it, right there. Look at that. Look at that. See how it's blurring? Your eyes are just hurting. See that? And then you see also the beta on top, right? All those, the kind of grayish emboss. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. Look at it very carefully. The super dark one is the, I what do you call it? The super dark one, the red is the subject, and the beta is the middle, and the C is this right here. The C is the bottom. What do you guys think? Pretty crazy, huh? Okay, so I did a bunch of tests also that I can't do on camera because it's hard to do it with by myself. But I know that just the print alone is very weird because at first you'd be like, whoa, a second. It looks like potentially a beta misprint. That could very well be. Some of you guys will be like, well, how about a reback? Well, because, okay, so let's think about centering stuff. Wheel of Fortunes, if you've seen, or just CE cards, look at the long edge there. So I'm going to hold this real quick. You notice that basically the long edge is very thin. They mark up pretty much the same. So that is a warning sign right there, right out of the gate. The other thing that I thought about was, I realized in research over the years, is that basically beta Wheel of Fortunes have a top to bottom lower centering. So I'll actually pause the video and get back to the centering thing here in a minute. That's very interesting. All right, so let's look now at the centering situation, what I was talking about. So the real beta centering left to, top to bottom is generally very small. So the top to bottom, that's usually how even the alpha ones are too. Yes, they're typically pretty thin on the left to right, but they're more centered in the case if you look at the both box types. Okay. Something to notice is that all the CE cards tend to be more thin on the left. You notice that? Here's the subject is on the bottom. The C is right here. This is the subject. Pretty much matches. All right, so another test that I looked at was the matching up length test. This isn't done very often, but notice carefully. The C is on, and this is making sure it's matched up top to bottom, like evenly. The CE is the one on the bottom, and the questionable one is the one on top. And notice how pretty much there's no trimming of it pretty much measures exactly of the card. There's no additional paper, and that's important to understand. So right out of the gate, that matches up, so that we can eliminate potentially that test, because sometimes you see people who have trimmed the cards or altered the cards, and in fact they do a really shitty job, and you basically cannot get, it gives you that questionable authenticity up front. Okay, now next is, I would say, like the glossiness test. This is really interesting. Okay, what's really interesting about this card is in question. Let me just put this down real quick. The CE. So CE cards tend to be very what do you call it? Glossy. This card actually kind of feels more matte, and what really is really crazy about this, so that's, I'll get into the other test better, but it's more matte, and if you touch a beta card, it feels similar to the beta cards on the left right here. This is the card in question. It feels more similar, but it also feels kind of glossy. It's kind of like a half and half thing, like half and half in your coffee. Seriously. So to me, it almost feels like this is a different paper in some reason. It just feels different. Interesting. All right. Next, we have what I call the thickness test. This is really important. You guys can't tell, but this is going to be hard. But basically, this card, I can see the double paper together. Like, I can literally see almost evidence. I call it evidence of it being glued. Whereas the beta card and the CE card, I'll just put this together. Maybe I'll try this. I haven't tried this before. I'll put the CE card in the back and put the beta card or the question card in the middle, and then this card. See if I put them together. Did I get anything out of this? Okay, so no, it's hard to tell for you guys. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. But when I do this test, I can see very, very clearly there's definitely something going on. You know what I mean? Now let's do the beta to betas together. I haven't done that yet. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, hold on. Beta to beta, or the question one's on the bottom. Whoever, if it seems like this one is a little short. The beta one's a little bit bigger, but it's so close, it's hard to tell on camera. Okay. Another thing I noticed was, this is really interesting, is that the white triangle is bigger by the naked eye for the one in question. The one in question is on the bottom. You guys see it? It's really, really hard to tell at first. But it's pretty obvious. Yes, I need to get a manicure, everybody. Yes, please, someone suggest a good manicure place. So I visibly can see the difference. The CE one is the top one. The one in question is the bottom. The beta is in the middle. Definitely 100% different. 100%. So I don't know. It feels like almost like it's blown up, right? And it's the same idea in a way where all of this triangle too is different. Set? Crazy. Crazy, crazy. Now, next test is the bend test. Basically, they should be able to bend and reflect back without causing a crease. And this card, the one in question, it does do it, and it's not too bad. Look at that. That's pretty normal. But it has a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of a, it kind of stays. And I don't like that. I'm concerned. All right, so let's talk about kind of probably the one that I think gives it away the most for me. And this is actually one of the harder ones I've ever seen. Is people can say do the weight test and all that, but I'm going to brighten this up. There's actually some water damage on the bottom. So first off, if you look at the edges, when you look at a card that has potentially counterfeit or reback, there's a lot of edge wear all the way along. Okay? All the way. So that's one of the most damning things I see about this card, because every edge has all of this white. And I think people do that when they counterfeit cards or they try to reback cards, because they want to basically give the assumption that it's played, but it also hides, you could shave, maybe it's shaving off the edge, so it basically, it's more even on the edge here, so it looks more close, right, together. Because a card should be uniform. It should be, if you look at your Magic cards, they should all be one Magic card, paper stock. Whereas the potential counterfeit one has, or reback, or whatever you want to call it, is basically, I can 100% tell there's two pieces of paper. In fact, the corner is actually flared. You'll never be able to see it from here, but these just corners are just literally flared out, which is very obvious to me that that's a potential for a counterfeit. situation. All right, so there is, like right here, this is the hard part. You can't tell, but let me zoom there. Right there. Do you guys see that? Okay, there it is. Right there, this edge, this entire edge. Look very carefully. Do you see the discoloration in the black? That is due to gluing. That is due to water damage. So, either this card had some water in the surface on the edge, or it was most likely glued, because where that water damage is, do you see that flare up? See how there's a two right there? Do you see how there's two lines? There you go. Basically, it's like two pieces of paper, right? That basically were together and then glued, and then there's some water. And then it looks like as if it looks supposed to be played, but it's not. And the other thing with the back, this is probably the most damning thing with the back, and what I figured out with this card is if you get a loop, don't have the loop with me right now, the loop shows that there is a blurriness to the one in question, and this is the real one. So the real one, is the fake one is on the fake or the counterfeit one, or reback, whatever you want to call it for now, is on the left. Let me brighten it up. Even at the brighter light, look at that. The real one on the right is so much more crisp. Let me just be clear on this. This is the real one. Look carefully. The magic back. And look at the other one. I want you to look at it. Now, you're probably saying, well, Dan, that could happen like all the time. I mean, the blurriness of magic cards exists all the time. No, not in this level. You can't really, look at that. You can't really tell perfectly from this shot because of the camera, but the crispness is just not there. See the M's? Look at the M's. And that's not me doing anything. That's the camera. The lack of blue sparkle, I mean, if you want to call that, the lack of stars or stuff inside the sky, the M's, the A, whatever, it is literally faded and pixelated. Yeah. So, my conclusion is this. I think, let me just look at this real quick. Okay. In my opinion, this card was used at a very high quality type of, reproduction paper, and was highly contrasted, up in terms of the coloring. Because the other print ones, these other two, are not as red. This is done really well. And then it was glued. Oh, by the way, the light test showed that this one in question actually did relatively pass. Light went through, but it was very faint. And these other two showed that the other two real cards show that they were, the typical evenness of the light test. So if you ever use like the flashlight app on your phone, you can tell that pretty easily. I have other videos about that, but that's where that came from. So that definitely shows, obviously maybe a different type of paper, maybe some residue from the gluing, whatever. But with all, so I've named a lot of different things. In my opinion, Edgar, I really appreciate you sending me this because this is very interesting. I believe that this card is 100% one of the best, honestly, one of the best kind of replica versions of beta I've ever seen. No, seriously. Like, the pixelation, if you loop it, is not quite there. It looks good. It really does look good, but the back is very bad. Like, very bad. This is like one of the best replica versions I've ever seen. And okay, so the bend test, it's interesting because this bend test is not, like if I bend it like this is it does like that. Let me just, here, I'll even do the beta. I'm not worried about it that much. It's a really nice card, but like this. See that? But it goes right back. See, that's the beta. It just goes right back. See, I didn't do anything else. I didn't bend it back or anything. That's the beta. And that's a very nice card. Whereas this, look at this card, I'll bend like this. Look at that. It's holding its space. I just did that with the beta, and it's basically flat. Look at that. Look at that. So every test is kind of, I would say if you were to rate this card, the light test, it's kind of faint. Let's go through everything. The light test is kind of faint. It has evenness factor for light test, but it's still faint. So I call that a fail. I call it basically. Subjective. I call there's an issue. The centering. Does it kind of look like CE more? That one's a little hard. That one has potentially, like, I feel like they may have taken a beta card and scanned it, right, to reproduce more. That could happen. So I think centering's a little different. Print. The print of this is not of a beta, but the top is of a beta. My feeling is something was corrected during contrasting, because we notice this is all red. They may have contrasted it out. Not sure. I also think, let's look at this real quick. Yeah, okay, so let's go to the gloss. The glossness, it's really hard to tell, but the beta, like I said, it feels more matte. This one feels kind of matte glossy, not as super glossy as the CE one, the IE one. But what's really interesting is the shininess, is that I can really tell from the camera that the shininess factor of this, the one is subject here, let's see if I can do that, is just, this one is a lot more shiny. Again, a questionable thing. Is it, like guaranteed? Well, all the things combined. Also, the edge test. We looked at the edge. The edges were a lot more predominant. I can see I can see like both papers, for example, were like basically there and then glued. It's very weird. Here's one that's interesting. This corner is really telling, but I can actually tell that it's almost been glued twice. Just the way this corner has been done. I can't, I'm trying to focus on it and it's like almost impossible. But this corner is really bad. This corner. It's almost as if I can see that the second layer of paper was on there. That's another issue. And then the actual looping and registration, it looks as if, like, well, definitely it's a lot blurrier than the normal Magic cards, as I've shown the M, for example, and just throughout here, it almost looks like it's just like a zoomed in version of the back or something. It's not a very good back, it's not a crisp, clean back. And that's weird. And that's the same. It goes the same with the Wheel of Fortune in general. It's just the whole thing is weird. So we did the bend test, light test, color test, centering test. And lastly, we talked about kind of the wordings and the different nuances. I mean, overall, Edgar, if you bought this on eBay, I would say that this card is 100% not an authentic card. I'm just going to leave it as not authentic. Do I think that it's rebacked or do I think it is real? I'm going to have to lean towards it's a counterfeit. Unless I I actually did not have time to pull out every example that in existence that I have or research everything. But from what I see, there is too many signs of counterfeit levels to me, meaning that it wasn't even necessarily a CE reback. I think more of it as a really good beta printed one that's been kind of blown up a little bit. Also, remember, I told you guys about the white triangles. The triangles are much bigger. I mean, much bigger than all the other ones. Go back to the video. It tells me that it's almost like it's been expanded just a little bit. And that has caused everything to be much bigger and predominant, which scares me. It's just scary, the whole thing. And I don't know if you can see this. The beta one, last thing, guys. The beta one doesn't even have any... The beta one's on the bottom. The bad one's on the... I'm sorry, the beta one is the first one right here. And yeah. Look, guys. Look carefully. Right there, the triangle. Is there a triangle on the top right corner for the beta? Very little, right? Look carefully. I'm going to zoom in even more. Do you see what I'm saying? Something's going on. See the mana symbol? Even at this resolution. Do you see the dot matrix? I don't think you can. See how the beta has it? That's the one thing I did not show is actually there is no dot pattern. And so when you loop it, my apologies, when you loop it, you don't see the dot matrix. You see... So I'm going to zoom in. Look at that. Even this is the CE version. This is high res. You see that? The top one is the fake. The bottom one is a CE. There's no dots at all. It's gray as hell, basically. Or it's not the right pattern. So that is probably, okay, so I don't know the type of press. I'm not a press guy. I think my friend Tavis King would probably know the exact name. Maybe he can comment below. But those factors are basically my conclusion that it's not authentic. It's probably two highly well-printed inked jet, not inkjet, but a high quality printer. It's kind of scary, to be honest. All right, guys, what do you guys think? Do you guys, I hope you guys learned something. This is my opinion, obviously. If you guys have your opinion, let me know. But I'm telling you, I would not, I would return this, Edgar. I'm sorry that you're probably losing $400 here. I hope you can get your money back from eBay. If you need more help, let me know. Guys, thanks again for watching. Hope you guys learned something, and I appreciate you guys. Take care.